Holy, this is insane for a 1-bar build. Hey guys, it's Dan, and welcome back to Unified Gaming. So in this one, I want to break down my 1-bar PvP Templar build for the current patch. This thing is a lot of fun. It really feels like a Templar. It is deceptively tanky, it has great damage and really good sustain. It's got everything you need for a build. You'll be able to see that I'm fighting people like Deltius game and I'm not dying against them. And as for killing, well, the proof is in the pudding. I'm killing absolutely fine. This is hands down one of my favourite ways to play Templar this current patch. As always, I'm going to go through the gear, the skills, everything you need to know, so do pay close attention. And a quick TLDR, this does use Oaken Soul, so you will need High Isle and Greymore. If you like these videos, then do like, comment and subscribe. It tells YouTube and me this is what you want to see. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone over at Patreon who helps make these videos possible. There's details down below how you can get exclusive perks and much more. So what are we doing? We are a Dark Elf. Being a Dark Elf gives you max Magicka and Stamina, Flame Resist and Weapon and Spell damage. The Magicka and Stamina is really helpful as our resource pools are a little low, but this does help fix that. The Flame Resist helps as we're a Vampire stage 3, so this is really good to counter the negatives, and the damage is great as the Sorcerer gets minus Sorcery, so we can push us even higher because of that. So all in all, Dark Elf is probably the best race for this type of build. That said, if you're not a Dark Elf, Argonian could work, so would High Elf, so would Orc. You will just need to change a few glyphs around and a few attributes, but you could make it work. Talking of attributes, what are we doing? We have 14 points in Magicka and 50 in health. I aim for about 30,000 health with Undaunted on, and then everything else into Magicka. As long as you've got 30k health, you are tanky enough to really benefit from Undeath, which is a really good passive. You'll see on the right as well that although our defences look a little low, our critical resist is insanely high, and actually, we are deceptively tanky thanks to a passive in the World skill. With being a vampire, we get access to Undeath. This is incredibly useful. It's basically like having 8 to 10,000 armor on your character page. It is that good. So this makes us silly tanky when we're low health. We also have Mistform, which helps us teleport away from trouble, and it gives us major evasion, which makes AoEs do less damage, which that's most ultimates. You know, Meteor, Dawnbreaker, Colossus, Northern Storm, all of those types of things, they are AoE ults. Templar's Sweep, AoE ult. So this really helps just make you tanky as well. So having Undeath and Elusive Mist helps you get out of trouble, and if you are in trouble, you are really tanky as a result. So it's a really good thing to be. For the rest of the page, it's pretty self-explanatory. For our Mundus Stone, we are using the Lover Mundus. This is Penetration, and it is the best damage Mundus for this build, so I would recommend getting this if you can. But if you are new to just Templar or just this build, maybe go for Regen Mundus, it's not going to hurt. It's better to be a DPS that is alive and killing people than to be a dead DPS, because it's just awful. You can't kill people if you are dead, it is that simple. So it's always worth just going with an extra regen or two if you're new to a class. As for our consumables, I use max health and regen food. The cheapest option of this is Jewels of Misrule. This gives you max health and it also gives you Magicka and Stamina recovery. It's really good. Or you get Smoked Bear Haunch, which is basically the baller food. Like if you are just stupidly rich, you can run this. I'm not stupidly rich on the live server. I can't afford this, so I use this one absolutely fine. So personally, Jewels of Mistral is basically what poor people use. It's just as good almost, but it does the job. But if you can afford it, go with the more expensive one. I also use Trisap Potions. They cover health, Magicka and Stamina. So if you're low on something, pop one of these and you're good to go. You might also be looking in the top left and going, Dan, you've got loads of money. What are you talking about? No. That is not the case. I'm actually recording this part of the build video over on the PTS server, where I get access to every item, fully gold, loads of money, so I can really show the build min-maxed, fully optimised, but on the live server I actually use a gold weapon and everything else is purple. So you can see if you gold out, it will be even stronger than what you see. Now for our skills and how these work. We have 5 skills with being Oaken Soul. We have a Spammable, Bite and Jabs. We have Radiant Glory, Execute. We have Honour the Dead, our Burstill. We have a Mobility skill, Mistform, and we have a Heal Over Time / buff skill, Cleanse. So this is Extended Ritual. We then use Crescent Sweep as our ultimate for an AoE ult that hits really hard. This has basically everything you need. The only thing it does lack is a stun, but you can fix this by using Dawnbreaker if you wish. Now, there are a few things to note with these skills. Biting jabs cannot change. Even if you are tempted to try the magic one, don't. It makes the build just does not work. So you want to go with biting jabs, and I will explain why when we get to the gear later on. Radiant Glory, you want this one as well. The other one, although it does a tiny bit more damage, 20% more damage, which isn't a lot in all honesty, it is better to have that little bit of healing because that helps with one of the sets that we run. So you want to have this as well. As for the other stuff, you can change it if you wish, but I wouldn't. Honor the Dead is phenomenal. It heals us and it gives us resources back. It's just such a good skill. Mistform, as I've said earlier, it's basically your teleport around, your movement buff, your AoE reduction of damage. It's just really, really good. Extended Ritual is your heal over time. You chuck this down, you sit in it, you fight, you heal, you get a cleanse. It's good to get rid of dots. It's really good. It helps your team as well. And Crescent Sweep is just, it hits hard and it pulsates around. This is good because if you hit somebody in front of you, you do a lot of damage and you can hit them with jabs. So this will then pulse, doing AoE damage as you're around them. You're then jabbing them, you get them to low health, you hit them with the beam, they die. It's that simple. As with some of the other options you may want to try, I have tried Backlash, I've tried Power of the Light personally. This was less damage than using an Execute, even though you wouldn't think it. The issue that we have as a Templar with 5 skills is we need some heals and stuff, so we don't have many damage slots. So we can't fill this up often, and if we do, it doesn't go big enough in order to kill people. So then we're left with them being at low health, and they can block, cast, heal, and our jabs just doesn't do enough damage. The beam, however, does. So this was significantly better. And most people let their health get below half health anyway before they react, so this is a really good thing to use. I did also try Live in Dark for a period, and it was good. You could swap this out instead of Extended Ritual if you wanted. I personally like Extended Ritual because it helps the team. But if you're a bit more sort of solo in Imperial City maybe, or Cyrodiil, or you just want to be by yourself in BGs, then using this is, is quite a nice skill to have. The downside though is you can't cleanse stuff, which really means you can't counter DKs easily. With this you can actually fight a DK and kill them, which I do many, many times. Important passives to note with this build are your Vampire. You want to get Strike from the Shadows. This gives us 300 weapon and spell damage. So when we use Mistform, we proc this passive, which means Mistform becomes a gap closer for us and an escape tool. It is a really good thing. We gap close to somebody, we get AoE damage reduction, we also do more damage. Brilliant. We're also tankier. So Mistform serves 2 jobs. It's a gap close and an escape tool. You really need this. You might be going, I don't want to be a vampire. No, I hate the paleness of it all. You could go down to Sigicorda and get Race Against Time and swap this out. I wouldn't personally, I don't think it's better, but if you're really, really hell-bent on just not being a vampire, that is the only workaround that there is on this build. As for Resolve and Vigor, it's a really good heal over time and it gives you minor Resolve, which is armor. You could swap this for Extended Ritual, and I have used this and it does work absolutely fine. I just prefer the Extended Ritual because it heals me and allies, and it also gets rid of dots. So actually, although we lose a bit of armor, because we have no dots on us, we kind of, come up very similar. So it's a really good thing to have. But you could use this if you really wanted, especially if there's other Templars in the group. One thing to note is if you get Alchemy, gets down to medicinal use, it's a really good passive to have. Makes potions last longer, does everything you want. So yeah, everything you need there. If you get any questions about the skills or the passives though, do let me know in the comments below and I will do my best to answer. And if you are enjoying this video, then do like, do comment and do subscribe. It tells me and YouTube this is what you want to see. And as always, a massive thanks to everyone over at Patreon. Their support helps make these videos possible. If you want to support myself, get early access and exclusives and stuff, there's details down below. So what are we doing with the gear? For the gear, we are using Rallying Cry. We have a Rallying Cry Lightning Staff, sharpened, with double dot poisons. This is really helpful. I then use One Piece Magma Incarnate Impenetrable. This is a medium armor helmet. I have Wretched Vitality on the chest, in pen, Wretched Vitality on the shoulders, medium armor in pen, Rallying Cry Sash, light armor in pen, Wretched Vitality hands, medium, Wretched Vitality legs, medium, Wretched Vitality feet, medium. You might notice I have Rallying Cry on the jewellery, so neck and ring, plus the sash and the staff. The staff counts as 2, so that's 1, 2, Sash is 3, Neck is 4, Ring is 5. We now have 5 pieces of Rallying Cry on. Some people do get a bit confused with how does the staff count as 2. You're probably going now, why am I using Rallying Cry? Rallying Cry is one of the best stat dense sets in the game. It has so much going for it that it's almost criminal not to use it. When Battle Spirit is active, so you're in Cyrodiil, BGs, IC, you get these things. If you heal yourself and you're by yourself, you get 300 weapon and spell damage. If you queue for BGs by yourself, this gives it to you by yourself. It's ridiculous, such a good set. And it gives you 1650 crit resist. That is like an extra 20% crit damage reduction. It is so good. So although our resistances do look low, as you saw on our stat page earlier, because we have this set here, that extra crit resist means most critical hits aren't really doing that much extra damage, which means we are actually quite tanky. And when you add in Undeath on top of this and Major Evasion, we can hold our own absolutely fine against DKs in a one-on-one or against Nightblades, as you saw me fighting Delta Game at the start. You know, it really is that good of a set. The Magma Incarnate is magical and health recovery, so this is really helpful for sustain. We do need this. If you don't have this set or you don't have access to one like this, you can use a one piece that has recovery, and I would suggest going with Magicka over Stamina because I run more on Mag than Stam. And then for the glyphs, I use Tri-Stat on the head, the chest and the legs. You're probably going, why Wretched Vitality? Wretched Vitality is one of the best regen sets in the game. Again, it's a really high stat dense set. While in combat, a major debuff or buff gives you weapon recovery and a minor gives you recovery too. Now, the way this works is really odd. We're using biting jabs. Activating this ability grants you major brutality and major sorcery. Although we have Oakensaw that gives us this buff already, this still procs the major buff. Because we're a Templar, if we go down to one of our passives, Spearwall, gain major protection for 6 seconds, reducing damage taken. This works when you activating an Adric Spear ability. So if I'm in combat and I use my jabs, I will get both procs. So you can see both procs are now on my character at the bottom, which brings our base regen up to 2000 plus. If we use a potion on top of this, we got 2.5k regen, plenty of sustain. So this set is really, really good. And the reason we have to use jabs, the reason we have to use the bite and jabs is because it procs both buffs with one skill. It is really good, which means we have a really high uptime on this, so we can just spam it and just keep that up all the time. As for Radiant Glory, you might notice that Rallying Cry, in order to proc, you have to go and heal yourself or somebody else. If you use this and you're doing execute damage, you can heal yourself because it heals you, and it can then proc Rallying Cry, which helps you keep it up. Extended Ritual also is a big AoE heal over time that you can sit in that keeps Rallying Cry up. So between these 3 things, being the AoE heal and then the burst heal, Rallying Cry is always up in the game, the combat. It's really, really good. So that is why these sets work so well, because we can activate all of these and they're really powerful sets really quickly. For the traits, they are all in pen on everything. And as I said, it's Tri-Stat on the big pieces and Magic on all the small. Shoulders, waist, hands and legs. For the jewellery, I've gone with 2 spell damage glyphs and 1 recovery. Arcane and Infused. I've gone with 2 Arcane to give us a bit more max resource so we can fight, and it really helps. If you want to change these though to get even more damage, to eke up more damage, you could go down to the transmutation station and change Rallying Cry to Infused or even Bloodthirsty. That will give you more damage. If you want more defense, Protective is not a bad option, or you could even go Swift to move around really fast. But that is what I'll do for the gear. Now you might be going, but Dan, I play with a group that use Rallying Cry already. What do I use? You could substitute this for Ancient Dragon Guard. It's a set that gives you 300 weapon and spell damage when you're above 50% health and about 3.5k armor when you're below. So it kind of does the same with this. It gives you a damage and a defense in one set, which is what we need. So that will be the alternative. Ancient Dragon Guard is a really good set to use. But that's the gear. The final thing is the CP. CP wise for the blue, Master at Arms, direct damage, so that helps our beam. Bite and Aura, AoE helps our jabs, helps our ultimate. Ironclad makes us tanky, Jordan's rebuff makes us tanky. For the red ones, Celerity makes us move fast, Survival Instincts means we can roll dodge, break free, sprint cheaper, really good. Pain's Refuge makes us just tankier. Sustained by Suffering gives us more recovery. And for the green ones, I use Rationer and Liquid Efficiency to save money, and Steed's Blessing to just get more speed. The fourth one is up to you with whatever you wish. But that there, guys, is the build. It is a slightly longer video than normal, but I hope you found the information useful. And before I sign off, if you get any questions, let me know down below. But as always, I want to say a huge thanks to everyone over at Patreon and just the people that have subscribed already. It really helps just keep the channel going. If you want to support myself, you can subscribe, or you can help directly on Patreon and get exclusive content. There's details down below. But I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. So I'm going to say thanks for watching, take care, and bye!